everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTrain.tv, where today we are at Claris Corporation, working with them on all the great things that are coming your way, which is quite the pile. They're starting to overwhelm me with all the stuff that's going on here. Lots of great news and things that will be coming out, things that you're going to start seeing kind of leak around the edges. You've seen that. If you watch the live stream, you start to see some of that actually happen. Very, very, very exciting. So with that in mind, let's talk about the schedule real quick. And so if you go to fmtrain.tv, the tab on the left will give you the live upcoming training, and you scroll down a bit, and this is live data out of FileMaker. Shockingly enough, we eat our own dog food. If you want to support the channel, as a reminder, especially today, because we're giving away so much free stuff, it blows people away at what we do, right? There's so many free things. We ask you to support the channel by being a super duper triple bundle subscriber. Support the channel, get a bundle. We really appreciate it. If the renewal comes up on that, please purchase that. We greatly appreciate that. So moving forward, today's a very good day. So in fact, the people at Claris here have been very happy, right? And I was like, why are you happy? And they were last week. Well, we talked about a little bit yesterday, but we talked a little bit yesterday about the sales of Claris stable. That continues to be the case. And they're very happy about that. In fact, the salespeople are breathing a big sigh of relief, right? That kind of thing, right? Right? So that's very, very important. I'm going to share my screen, turn that on right now. Here it comes. What we have is finally the release of FM Starting Point 24, okay? And it's the 24 Lite version, which is the version that most of all of you probably should play with for the most part. All right, so let's talk about this real quick. So welcome to FM Starting Point. So this is the Lite version. There are some things in here that we have simplified for the purposes of communicating and simplicity. And it's unlocked, it's totally free. This is what I use to start the Big Valley Aviation project. I used a version of 23, early 23 one or 22 one to start that. And it's updated. A lot of little things in it were not right. They could have been made better. If you already have a project that started with a previous version of Starting Point, don't start the project all over. I'm saying, however, and it's so important, people are like, oh, I should use the latest one. No. If you want to look at this, open it up, reference it, that's fine. However, for example, if you have for example, some of the things that went on, it doesn't look any different, but if you said you had a brand new project, I started like a new record up here, and I have a new record, and then I come over here and we're going to click on this. Some of the versions of 23 Lite were missing the create up here. And a couple spots where it was created, Nick had done this and thrown it together at 900 miles an hour. And the way you build, like if you're going to create a new account from inside of a project, you're going to create it and you're going to fill out this information. Well, the way to do this correctly, very, very important, is that you put these into global fields. And then that way, if you say, go ahead and do it, finish it, create it, it's going to then create on the script. This is one of those mechanical things we talk about. This is a great example of this right here. We want to talk about this today. We can, but it creates a new record. Then it takes all these fields, our global fields, and it loads them by 10 or 12 set field commands. It creates the record. And then it takes all these globals and clears them. If you cancel, then it can just clear the globals, but it doesn't create the new record. What I found in Starting Point, much to my chagrin and my embarrassment, was that whoever had done this, and I think it was Nick and then maybe a junior engineer behind him or whatever, had thrown it together really quick just to get it done like as fast as possible. So when you press, if I hit cancel right here, if they come over here and they press create, it actually created the new record, and you're on a card style window in the account database, right? And then and that's fine unless you hit cancel. And then what they did is they had to go, oh, we're going to go back and execute a delete command. And I hate delete commands because the road to hell, it's like if I left grenades around the kitchen table for my 12-year-old to play with. I mean, real live grenades. I don't have any here. I'm being serious. Sooner or later, your 12-year-old's going to wonder what the pin thing is. They're going to pull it out and blow themselves up. And I mean that seriously. Delete script steps are like that. It's like a grenade rolling around the floor. And as long as you're not unlucky or you don't have a 12-year-old who says, hey, what does this do? And they pull the pin, it's fine. But 12-year-olds are 12-year-olds, sharp objects are sharp objects, and delete commands are meant to make your life miserable, okay? If they're not super tightly regulated. And so what I wanted to do in starting point is make sure I set a good example. I'm your father. We don't play with grenades unless we're playing with grenades, right? But you get the idea. I'm respectable. I'm a professional. I'm an adult. I will be wonderful at all. And Margaret's laughing because I have that mode, and then my dad has that mode. But then, if no one's around not looking at you, then we have more fun, right? Grenades are great. I think they're a tremendous amount of fun. So anyway, this is grenade proof, and it's a good example. So I can hit cancel. I can't click out. Oh, of course, the thingy. Can I move that? Oh, it's a card. But you can't move the card. So I'm gonna hit cancel. I have a zoom thing that's popping over the top. If you wonder why my mouse is going around, it's because the zoom is putting little windows in front, and I'm fighting with it. So don't let it throw you. So this thing is ready to go. We think it's ready to go. We are going to, this is beta 1 of starting point 24. It's designed to work with FileMaker 24. There aren't any 24 specific features in it yet, and FileMaker 24 is not out yet. Okay. That being said, Claris has announced it. They telegraphed it. They put it on a blimp and flew it around the stadium. It's not a secret. Watch them bang on my door and tell me it's a secret, but it's not. We might have a couple 24 specific features in here to demonstrate. Like right now, I think I'm in 23, right? If I go about FileMaker, I'm in, yeah.
I'm looking at blue, so I assume it's 23.
In here, you go to home, there's a preference setting in here. If you go to preferences, this is where you can set the name, the title, things like that. The calendar, the current calendar in this is version 4.4.2. The calendar is based on a open source product called fullcalendar.io. Okay. And what Full Calendar IO has a free level, and then they have a paid level. And someone was just telling me today that the version we have is version 4 something, and that they're at version 5 something. But according to this, they're at version 6. And so, Margaret, can you make a note in video production, or it's in product management if you want on your screen, that as of right now, the full version is 6.1.11. And so what we want to do is we're going to update the calendar in it just so we have the latest stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all handled through a web viewer, if that makes any sense. Now, people say, what's the difference between the non-paid calendar and the full paid calendar? The basic calendar, if we look at it, is pretty great. If I just say calendar, we always pop that in its own window. Most of the time, we don't pop things in the window. And they're like, let me just close it real quick. We keep everything in the same window here for simplicity, but we made the conscious decision that when we pop a calendar, no matter what, we would pop it out separately so people could see the calendar. They could have it if their screen was big enough. They'd have, this on this window or this screen and the calendar over here. If you want the Gantt chart capability, where it's like project management, Gantt charting, that kind of thing, that's where you're going to write a check to pay them for that full capability. We haven't built Gantt charts into starting point because we're not going to tell people with starting point to do stuff and you have to buy a product. Now, there are some scripts and little modules in starting point. We call them side nuggets, that kind of thing, where you can drag the feature on the screen. Mostly you see that with the standard or enhanced versions, but we'll have, like, if you go to layout mode and you go to layout, I just hit Command or Control L, and then of course my screen is very small, and then I come over here and I make it a little bigger. It's really hard to see because I've got this giant screen. Yeah, these are, that one says do not delete, but sometimes you'll see little side nuggets over here. It's, we call them side nuggets because they're little bundles of goodness you can drag and drop and put on the layout. If I go to, for example, if I switch layouts, I go to invoices and I go to data entry and I'm in layout mode and I go to the side. Yeah, you'd go to the standard version and there's extra little side nuggets that are over here. Once again, a little more advanced, and you feel free to use the more advanced version. The starting point standard and enhanced for 2024 is in progress. The goal was to get this one done first. This is the one we use on the show all the time. It's what I recommend for 90% of the people out there. It's got a couple things that might be performance bottlenecks, maybe at some point, but then we teach you how to adjust that and fix that. But they're simpler for training. So this one is simpler to understand, simpler to train. Some of the complexity in it, like there was some Nick neomorphism stuff in here. We took that out, right? It was just too much for brand new people to understand. It was just way too much. So the layout lives in here. It's designed to fit on a laptop or a standard kind of screen size right here. So I'm on this is like a 1080 screen. So you want at least a 1080 size resolution. It's coming up a little smaller than that. So it'll fit on, yeah, I don't know if it'd do 720 or not, like a lower res screen, but most laptops and computers are at least 1080. So it supports that. Very, very, very cool technology. So it's one file, multiple tables, right? And it's all organized. If I go to database real quick, here are the tables, right? So basically we have the tables right here. These are all the tables, right? And then we have the fields and of course relationships, and the relationships are organized. And this probably should be moved somewhere. And then that one's just sitting there and I'm not sure why. But you see how it's anchor buoy and they're generally organized, and the numbering should generally look pretty accurate. See, there's mostly good. That one's out of alignment slightly, things like that. Little bits and pieces of things. These are pretty minor in the scheme of things. By the time most of you get done, like if I go to Big Valley, like this needs to be cleaned up. Mark, can you make a note? We do a little bit of alignment work in the next beta release of this. But it mostly looks pretty straight. It mostly looks pretty straight. I'm not sure what the red ones indicate, what they're red and why they're red. I don't know if that means something. I will find out. Mark, if you can make a note about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what anchor buoy is. This is what you end up building. So all of you, if you understand the rules of how anchor buoy works, right, Margaret, this is the anchor. These are the buoys. What does an anchor mean? Quickly, what is the question? What is
It's
attached to an anchor?
a layout.
Okay, so there's a layout, probably the invoices data entry screen or list view
Mm-hmm.
is here. And what are all these items over here?
Those are related table occurrences.
Yes, but they are put on here. Why? Why do we put them on here and attach them to this right here? It's very simple. This drives the layout, and it's back
Yes.
to why anchor buoy. Why? We don't understand.
To grab information from the related tables.
That's true, but the logical thought. I keep repeating stuff to make sure you all get it. Margaret's not getting it right here. This table occurrence informs, is the fancy word of saying it, informs what that layout could display. So what normally works is that you're building a layout, so you have a layout on screen, and you decide you want X, Y, Z on it. All the stuff over here on the right is the stuff that supports what you want to show on the layout. There shouldn't
Yes.
be anything over here, in theory, ideally, that is not directly supporting something on the layout that you need. That makes sense. So you
Yes.
have a layout, your layout attaches to this. Initially, it should be what I would call butt naked, like this over here, like there's nothing attached. Then you have a layout attached to this, and you decide, well, I need this, and I need old invoices. Then I need like the related contacts to the invoice, right? So then you'd start putting ding, ding, ding over here. This one only has 4 or 5, but invoices and projects and like accounts, there's quite a few. But see, it supports, so there's contacts. You can see the related contacts from accounts, right? So what you need on the layout drives the buoys that you add to the anchor. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I
Well,
was.
I can't hear anyone else on the internet. I would love to hear
So,
Jesse and other people. I guess I could fire up Discord over here. I could do that real quick. But questions? Do we have questions? Right? Because
read the red tables and the stickies. Do they have anything to do with the red note at the top of the graph?
no, neomorphism is a design style that Nick put up there.
Well,
Right?
hold on. Well, I want to read the little sticky note now that we're looking at it. Preferences, contacts, ID constant. Oh, okay. So it doesn't say anything about the red hangies. Well, I noticed it wasn't attached normally because that's all the little. If you go down to look at accounts, because now I'm nosy.
Now you're
It's
nosy.
attached. It's attached through status, not ID account, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, maybe, probably, but I don't know why they're red, right? So we need to ask John that. That way, listen, let's put it this way. I want to ask, I want to know.
Yes.
That way I know when someone asks me like, what does red mean? I'm like, okay. So
No, no, that makes perfect sense. I was just trying to see
so
if we could figure it out ourselves.
if all of you have questions about this, you download and play with it. It's totally free. You can download it right now, take it. If you find a bug, let me know. At the current time, my entire list of things to fix is 1, a little better alignment in here. 2, figure out what red is. Maybe put a note at the top what red is. And 3 is update the code for the calendar that drives the calendar. And that's a Calvin thing. We sent to him for remediation, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So what's your favorite part about this beta? My favorite part, here's my goal in life, is all of you to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
In order for me to help you be successful, I need a good sample file. Like once again, have scripts that aren't commented or what. Of course, there's probably some of those in there, but things I want to set a good example, and then we can talk about it, and then you learn from this, and then you, Jesse, or Ghost Robot are successful. I'm down here. I'm looking at my laptop right here. So if I look down here, I'm looking at the comments. So I want you to be successful with this, and so we want to make sure that's doing. So
Jesse, I fixed the mess of the graph we originally had based on using your relationship graph as an example of how it should look back when I first started about 2 years ago. So hooray. I have 2 questions which I'm going to fling at you from earlier. So
yeah, fling questions. That's fine.
Ghost Robot was asking about DAPI earlier, whether it was still a thing. I told him it was still a thing.
Oh
But I
no,
thought,
that's a growing and becoming a bigger thing. So that's the data API. So FileMaker Server, in fact, even more so. There's some really cool stuff coming with Connect. Connect actually will be a much bigger deal sooner than Studio will be. I think that there's some neat things with Connect. Connect is this third-party service, talks to FileMaker through the DAPI, but DAPI basically is an external API reference. In fact, Jesse does this stuff, right? And Jesse already does the API stuff, so it's not going anywhere. Yeah, Mailchimp, yeah, exactly. So, are you using Mailchimp? Did you wire it directly, or are you going through Connect on that, Jesse? I would like to know. So,
Ghost Robot, yeah, I read about DAPI in a book or in the book, but I hadn't seen many FM videos on it, so I didn't know if they still used it.
oh, it's becoming more and more useful. So yeah. So the short version is that if you go to FileMaker, let me pivot here real quick. So, all right, let's try. We do DBW2. That one I know the password off the top of my head for. The problem is if I have to hunt for the password, you all are going to see the password. Then I'm going to get.
Yeah, that never
So,
ends well for us.
so when we get into this over here, you got the FileMaker Data API. This is what she's referring to here. I'm not using it on this, but this is where you would basically kind of like the idea of PHP or XML or something like that, where you're going into FileMaker, getting data out. So on DBW4, our corporate server, if I go to fmtraining.tv and I click on the live button, this data here comes out of the FileMaker server, I believe with DAPI and or it's essentially the same thing, but it's basically DAPI, right? It comes out here with DAPI. The older tech was this XML gateway. This is all data that's being fed out of FileMaker directly. And then it goes into an HTML page, and it's very non-FileMaker-y, if that makes any sense. So this is basically like coding if you're going to code MySQL and like a LAMP stack, right? Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, that kind of stuff. And so this comes out of that because so there's no FileMaker involved other than the FileMaker server doing a search, finding these six records, does a sort probably on date, does a find, does a sort, and then it dumps the data over the side of the ship either through the XML gateway, so it comes out looking like XML, or it sends it out through DAPI, which it comes out looking like JSON. Then your web page, your web page parses it and displays it. Makes sense? So it's very much in use. I don't use it too much personally anymore because I manage and do other training, and that's a deep into the pool kind of conversation. You have to beat your head on that a little bit. But Claris is putting more time and effort into DAPI and OData and these other things like that. It's the standard going forward for getting data out of FileMaker in the future, right? OAuth is authentication, but OData and DAPI, I think, talk to each other. How hard are they pushing AI at Claris? Okay, so let's talk about, so I have a question about API and Claris FileMaker. They're pushing it hard. And there's demos and streams and some webinars on it. You can do it now with FileMaker 20.3 because you can do an insert from URL command. So the short version is for those of you who are, we go into script workspace over here. I'm going to go into scripts real quick. I'm in starting point. It doesn't particularly matter. This is going to be a throwaway copy. I'm going to say insert from URL. Insert from URL is a script step that basically allows us to go and interact with other REST data sources, if that makes sense. And so FileMaker can consume data. It's how we get largely the calendar, which is an HTML web-based web page, into FileMaker. Does that make sense? So if you're a brand new FileMaker person, on this layout right here, if I go to layout mode, let's just take a look at layout mode right here real quick. These are all FileMaker things. This is all FileMaker. And then that was playing over this little slideshow. That box is a web viewer. Okay. Essentially, at the end of the day, it's whether we're using the insert from URL or not, it doesn't particularly matter, but this is a web page being driven. Okay. Insert from URL brings text data over generally, but it goes out to the web to retrieve it. This is actually a web page that's being displayed in here, right? But it's an external interaction. And so if I come over here, we have a couple videos where we've done this before. We go insert, insert all sorts of things in here from URL. And this is where you target a third-party service, Perl options, all this sort of stuff. To say like we had this basic video, it's in our live stream somewhere where we were talking with Art Savea. We would do a search on your VIN number, VIN, it's a unique vehicle identification number. I'm assuming it's a worldwide thing, but for certain in the United States, the cars that are manufactured between Canada, Mexico, and the United States, they all have to have this VIN. It's like etched and stamped into the metal. So, because people, when they steal a car, they want to get rid of the VIN. It's like if the bad guys get a gun and then you filed off the serial number of the gun, right? That way they can't track where the gun came from. Well, the VIN number is the same. The VIN is a primary key for a real car. There you go. How's that? And so if you submit it to online service, they will send you back. Send the VIN to them, and they will send back with the insert from URL all the data. Oh, that's a Toyota RAV4 four-wheel drive SUV, blah, manufactured in 2018, and it was sold in this. And they won't tell you anything about who owns it. Although if you were into other databases at the government level, they probably could tell who owned it. And then you could even jump from there to the person, the primary key, their driver's license number, and figure out what their driving record is. And we find out that Margaret crashes cars about every 3 or 4 weeks. That's a joke, but you would see all that data. 8 speeding tickets, 4 resisting arrest, 5, too many pussycats in the car at one time. It's a safety hazard. All the things that go on, right? So that's what this insert from URL does. It lets you go out and get that. DAPI is a way for FileMaker server to be a source. So insert from URL is FileMaker going out and consuming it generally. I'm going to say generally. Going out and consuming data, bringing it back from other sources. DAPI is where FileMaker server becomes the source, and other services, including web pages, can go and get data out of FileMaker. So it's almost like 2 sides of the same coin, right? Make sense? AI. So let's talk about back to AI. It was a question about AI. The AI stuff I've seen thus far is not super end user setupable. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Configurable. I need to see how simplified it is. You can do so using back to insert from URL. You can use insert from URL to already interact with AI, right? You go out to an AI service. It's already the demos have been run. Okay. Claris is building some specific script steps in there, AI this and AI that are new script steps, right? And they probably demonstrated this to some point at the keynote or on a recent, they have a live stream actually coming up where they're talking about AI. Not a live stream. So, well, it might be live, but they're getting 4 different people in the community, not me, to sit and pontificate and think about what AI means in FileMaker. I think it's a big deal, but thus far I've not seen anything that's super simple to set up, which concerns me, to be clear. But that's a common thing. Everyone sees the news about AI. Oh, it's an AI this, an AI car, an AI plane, and it's going to take over the planet, and this and that and the other thing. And then you see it doing some neat things like the chat GDP and whatnot. But then most of the time when you see it, or like Nick was talking about, having it help create reports and stuff, getting it to give you the answers that you want is a trick, is an absolute trick. It's an important thing that you teach it what to do. And it listens, and you have to be able to set that up. It's not a 1 click and it's working kind of thing. Or 5 clicks and it's working kind of thing. I wish that was the case. I'm going to spend some more time on it, but as of right now, my understanding is that it's a little bit deeper. So one of the things is that semantic search, they talk about that in this Nothing New. This idea where you can tell it to do a search, go find me this and this and this and this, and it helps do the find command for you in FileMaker and builds that out. I think if we can get that easily and simply set up, that would be a huge nice thing to have. And the trick is for me to make it simple enough that all of you can follow that. That makes sense. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. So the developers use it easily. Yeah. So that's what they're working on. But I mean, the rub is that, I mean, it depends on what you could consider a developer. Right now it's being set up for what I would consider fairly advanced developers, right? To the point where I'd have to sit and stare at it and wrestle with it, right? So I could do it, but it wouldn't be like 5 clicks and it's done. That's why I like the Christian Schmidt stuff because he has the code in there. And if Christian's here and we want to have him talk about something, that's fine, although we managed to burn up the entire hour. But the thing with Christian Schmidt is his stuff's pretty technical, but he puts the sample code together in these great sample files. Claris doesn't do that. They're not big enough. They don't have a team that builds great sample files that does this stuff. So it's up to the community, me being one of those people, to build samples for them. Okay. Or for that. Give AI to Christian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I could, yeah, I think Christian. All I know is that yesterday's live stream was epic, and I really actually was thinking about putting a couple little nuggets into starting point for his product, right? The notification, transient notification, I think are in here, but I might build it another way. Let me see if it's all in here.
With NBS with the new overlays. Yeah.
There, that was it. Okay, so if I hold down, Margaret, the command and option keys, and I hit an arrow, all the arrows roll up, or all the
Okay. Do you
arrows
want to
roll
see if
down.
that works on manage layouts?
I don't think it does. So if I go to scripts, I go to manage layouts. And so if I roll this one up, and then there's other ones here that are, let's say they're all rolled up. So I'm gonna hit hold command option key now. I'm gonna click it. It does work
Oh, why was that not working yesterday?
because you're a faulty person and you don't know.
I,
You're a very
eh.
faulty person. So command key on the Mac and option key, and then whatever it would be control and alt or whatever on Windows. Can the Windows person confirm that for me? Um, anyway, so yeah, so the you roll these out, and then roll them back in. Let me see, but I do it manually. I can pick up things. So by layout name, do we have where were the transient what's my latency? That should still be in here. That is from Leland Long. Leland Long, and he's the one who did our JavaScript training, right? Remember that guy, right? He's a pretty neat guy. If I do developer map, share with team, reset, network performance test, aka my internet is full. That's a joke, but that's what sales and marketing people tell me when their computer goes slow. So this is testing the milliseconds against Apple, Google, Microsoft. You can change these settings here. Okay. But this is by Leland Long. Okay. And he licensed for us to use it and distribute it. So we dropped it in the starting points. We could be able to triage. So if you're having network performance problems, you press the button here and this will tell you from not from server, but from now what you could do is change this to be your server. Like if I put HTTP colon // dbw02.at/rcc. And this one has that's another one. We have the zero tier conversation to do. We need to do that. So if I put this in here and I hit close and then I run it again, will this actually, oh, there you go. So this is a server that's in a home office that I have, right? And I'm at Apple. So notice that these are really fast because I'm in the heart of the Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale, Cupertino, the whole thing there. And this is, I mean, it's probably going out of the Apple building across the street to Google, right? Probably. This is my server there. And then we could go to this test server. So that's pretty slow. You could go to, shoot, just keep going. It's a stream server, right? So you go to http stream.rcc.com. So this right here is another great little add-on that was dropped in here. And I hit that and I hit that. That's pretty fast. That's an Amazon data center. So let's see how fast that is. Much faster server. And then of course the numbers vacillate a little bit, right? You'd run the test a couple times. So now I'm getting 38, 35, 38. It's about normal for between towns. Oh, look at that. Then it took a dump because something happened, right? Then these are vacillating in the high single digits. That's a little faster there. Yeah. Pretty neat, eh? So there you go.
A lot of server questions. Some of these are Linux specific, so might be more Jacob Taylor, but I'll ask him. Hi from Mexico. Is your FM server 20.3.2 compatible with Ubuntu 20.04 and 22XX?
It's 20. Okay, so to bring up the information on what I would do is do a search and it'll have all this information in there. I'm pretty sure that 2004 is not supported anymore. It's 2204, which is '04 is the long-term release for those of you who know all about this stuff. I'm gonna go to Claris FileMaker server technical specifications. Let's try that. There we go. That's Pro. Okay, server. Here we go. So FileMaker server 20.x is going to, it shows the supported clients. Then there's Pro. And then notice, by the way, that 19.6 is the oldest. Well, it's okay. This is kind of a bigger document, but the short version is that 19.4.2 is no longer supported. So this is a generic document, but really this stuff kind of tends to adjust and move over the course of the year. And so let's see, FileMaker server host, interoperability client with the clients I work with, Pro Go server. Here we go. So yeah, so it's Ubuntu. Okay, so it's 2004 here. I need to ask Jacob on this. I am thinking that they had or will shortly drop the 20.04. It'll be 2204. I was pretty sure this was either was dropped or will be dropped shortly. So certainly by 21, the next version of FileMaker, which is FileMaker. So the next version of FileMaker, just to confuse everyone, the next version is FileMaker 24. But the version number that it will run around with, see, that's the thing. It says 23 here, then you expect it to be 23 here. Whenever you see 20, that is the equivalent of marketing department telling us 23. Anyway, so the next one we call it 2124. So it'll be 2024. And it's very soon, like very soon. And like weeks soon, not days soon, but weeks soon. And then this would be 21 dot whatever, right? And so that's going to be that the Ubuntu 20.0.4 standard release is going to not be supported. Yep.
Noberto says that they're using Pro. So, hi from Mexico. I think he's trying to figure out what version of FM server is compatible with both his Pro version and the Linux that he wants to run. So,
I would go with 2204 and then the version of Pro. So here's the deal. 19.6 is currently, so this is where it's misleading. 19.5 and 19.4 are already not supported by Claris. Okay. I'm not sure if you can use them to log in or not. I don't have a 19.5 on my computer to log in. But they're not supported. And not supported doesn't mean that Claris is going to actively block you, right? If that makes sense. Like I was using 18 for a lot of years and up until recently, then they shut off support for 18 to talk to a server. And so I was forced to upgrade at a really old Mac Pro that worked great. There's nothing wrong with it. So currently the oldest copy of Pro that's supported by Claris, where if you say I have a problem and they will attempt to care about you, is 19.6. That goes away this year yet. 19.6 will be deprecated this year. They only support a release for 2 calendar years. 2 calendar years. What happens after that? It still works, but if it has a bug or it crashes or whatever happens, Claris is, if you call Claris, they're not going to really, they're like, hey, you're calling us about an unsupported product. We're not helping you. Questions about any of this stuff. So yeah, the current release is currently 20.3. Claris said at the Claris Engage keynote that somewhere late spring or early summer or whatever they would try to, they kept saying late spring, and I think it's pretty accurate for the next release. Well, welcome to a new copy of Free CRM for you to start your projects on. Okay. And once again, simplified in a lot of ways, cleaned up and aligned. I like how it works. Oh, over here and over as you do this stuff like this, I was agitated that you'd have to click it, then you'd have to come down here. It was Nick's effort to try to remove buttons from the interface, but I like that if you come over here, you have a open it and trash it, and then for every other one, there is an open it and trash it for every button. You're like, well, Because then you don't have to, otherwise it's 2 clicks. It's 1 click to select it, then the other click to hit the button down here. I wanted the 1 click right here. So if I press that button, there we go. That's him. That's it. That was his comment. He was funny. He was a little bit agitated. Not with us, with someone else. We'll just leave it at that. All right. So anything else that we have from the team today?
I think we're good. So tomorrow, return for PDFs,
Yeah, we'll
PSOS.
dig more deeper into FileMaker server. And Margaret, make sure you let Jacob know that people are lining up with questions. But he has a couple questions about containerization, and we will drop that on his head tomorrow.
Cool. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye.